Brian Albert said something interesting in that group interview that they did. That reputation rehabilitation tour that they're all trying to go on. He said, well, if this is a conspiracy, it would be like 30 to 50 people. It would be impossible. And it occurred to me that a lot of the people who think Karen Read did it, it's not because that's what the evidence tells them. It's because the alternative is too crazy, right? It's could you imagine that there'd be 3 different police departments and, a district attorney's office and half a town and 17 soccer moms all involved in a big conspiracy, and how could they all possibly keep it secret? So it's easier to just be like, she must have hit him, right? That's an easier alternative. So I understand it. But what if there was no conspiracy? We thought about it without any of the deleted calls, the butt dials, the disappearing dog, the hostlung to die in cold, the refurbished basement floor, took out the Ford Focus. We took out everything that we know about the McCabe's and the Alberts and the Higginses and all of their wildly strange behavior, even by the most basic standards. Everything that they did in the first 48 hours was wackadoodle and very suspicious. But let's take that out and let's just talk about how the police handled this from the word go. And you tell me if this is sufficient. If John O'Keefe was your husband, your son, your brother, your boyfriend, your father, would this be an appropriate handling of the entire thing? Now, let me refresh your memory. I'm taking this information, this timeline information, it's coming directly from a third-party audit that was done of the Canton PD. Now, I have a lot of problems with this audit, but here's the timeline of what Canton PD, according to all of their reports, these third-party people put this timeline together. In this, and I'm going to dispel the rumor that people are saying, well, it was Kelly, don't call me Deep or Dever, who took the 911 call. It was not. There's an audio recording of both calls, the one Carrie Roberts made and the one that Jen McCabe made. They're in here, and you can hear both times they're talking to men. That log sheet that you see floating around, I don't know if it's just incorrect, if it's a forgery, whatever, but Kelly Dever did not take the 911 call. The call came in to the dispatch, the Joint Dispatch Center. It is then passed to the Canton Fire and Rescue Group, and they get an ambulance on the way. Sergeant Good, who's at the dispatch desk, he dispatches Officer Seraph and Mulaney to 34 Fairview, and then Good also notifies Sergeant Lank and Lieutenant Gallagher to respond. So it is Good that's at the dispatch desk, and he's dispatching people, and he's the one that then contacted Kelly and had her come sit at the desk so he could go to the scene himself. He's a sergeant, and there is supposed to be a sergeant at the scene. Now, he did arrive third, so he got there before Lank, so at least there was a little bit of following of protocol in that there was a sergeant on the scene pretty much right away, because that's what they're supposed to do, is elevate to a sergeant when they think that there could be an issue that could lead or has caused death. They're supposed to elevate to a sergeant. So at least they did that. So you can pause to read. Here's another page with everything else you can pause to read. And then here's kind of just the last bit here. You can pause to read if you want to read that too. But this is all available. This is probably at least 30, 40 pages of information that are part of that audit. They went into the John O'Keefe investigation. They went into the Sandra Birchmore investigation. And then they also went into another investigation of a gentleman whose name escapes me. But believe it or not, there was another body that was found on a lawn in Canton. So they kind of go through the handling of all 3 of those investigations. You don't need a third-party audit of a police department to know that they might not have done things correct. You watch one episode of Law and Order and you know how police are supposed to act when they get to the scene. So Seraph and Mulaney arrive first. Mulaney says he got there as the fire and rescue group, as the paramedics were arriving. Like, he arrived and so were they. Both of them had opportunity to get out of their cars, go onto the lawn, and photograph the scene. They did not take a single picture. They did not wear body cameras. They did not have any video. They made no physical recording of John O'Keefe. Where he was laying, the position he was laying in. Was he on his stomach? Was he on his back? Were his feet facing this way? Were his feet facing that way? There's no visual proof of the scene whatsoever because these officers failed to record it. For the next 3 years, all we would hear is in the proximity of the flagpole, because Everybody fucked up that morning and no one took measurements, no one took pictures, no one did anything to record the actual scene. Good arrives on scene, and as a sergeant, he should have taken control. He says by the time he got there, John was already being loaded in the ambulance. So he didn't get to physically see, according to his own report, he did not physically see where exactly John was laying on the lawn. Yet it was Good who then communicated it up. He's the one that told Lank and Gallagher, here's where the body was. It was his reporting that then made it up to Proctor and Buchanan. Well, Good says the body was here, but Good never saw the body. And again, no photos, no videos, no body cam, nothing. There's dashboard cam, but the cars are in the fucking street. So you really can't tell everything from a dashboard cam. All you see is a bunch of people running around crazy. According to the testimony of 4 people, McCabe, Roberts, and 2 of the paramedics, Karen was running around yelling, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. But she never manages to say it within earshot of any of the officers. She's never arrested. She's never detained. She's never taken into the station. She's never read her rights. She's never told by any officer, ma'am, let's get you in the car. Let's get you to the station. Let's get you somewhere safe and let's talk about this. Ever. Karen, Jen McCabe, Carrie Roberts, not a single one of them are ever appropriately. Every single one of them should have been taken to the station. They should have done a formal sit-down witness statement. It should have been recorded, audio and video, and a paper trail. They should have been separated and questioned formally. Never happened. And just like juror number 1 said, there's a dead cop on the lawn, they should have stormed the house. Not just that. Not just that. Think about this. You found a dead body. Imagine John O'Keefe had a gunshot wound. You would think, okay, there's a gunman on the loose. So you would have canvassed that entire neighborhood. You would have been checking the woods, that tree line. You'd have been going to every single neighbor to make sure they were all okay. You would have gone in the home to make sure everyone in the home was okay. You'd have dogs out there searching the backyards. You'd be looking everywhere. So a guy beaten, because every single officer said that. This guy looks like he took a beating. You have a cop that's basically beaten to death and left on a lawn, and you don't think to do any searches. They didn't go into the house. They didn't check the tree line. They didn't check the backyards. They didn't check with the neighbors. They didn't do anything. The crime scene is never sealed off. When Brian Albert jokingly is like, what was I supposed to get inside my underwear and put yellow? Yes, that's exactly what you should have done. Anyone, anywhere, anytime could have put up crime scene tape to block off the entire crime scene. Nobody ever did. Entire morning, it is never sealed off. And there's no point of reference. So all they say is the proximity of the flagpole, but nobody ever took out a tape measure and said it's 10 feet off the road and it's 20 feet from the house and it's 3 feet from this and 10 feet from that. Nobody ever triangulated the exact location. How would you even know to start searching for evidence if you don't even know exactly where it was? You got Gallagher out there with the leaf blower and the red Solo cups and the Stop and Shop bag. You got 5 officers at the scene. You got an officer that lives in the house, and you got at least 2 more officers that live on Fairview. And not one of these guys has an evidence collection kit. The Canton Police Department is 2 miles away. If you can't afford to send a cop, send one of those extra paramedics. Have him drive over there. Call Kelly and be like, there's a dude coming to pick up evidence collection kit. Give him a bag and let's go. Nope, they're perfectly comfortable collecting it in red Solo cups in a Stop and Shop bag. And don't even get me started on the Ring cameras. My gosh, I can't believe I have to come back and do a second video because there's so much more.